I never thought there'd come a day when I'd have to choose between my two daughters, one shattered beyond measure, and the other oblivious to the unbearable pain she caused. I'm the mother of two girls, Leah and Maya. Leah, my sensitive, kind-hearted girl, was the victim of a horrific sexual assault. Maya, my older daughter, was unintentionally tied to the tragedy when she brought her sister to the party where it happened. And her best friend was one of the perpetrators. The police arrested Maya, and after a night in jail, she faced a fine, community service and probation. I thought that was the end of it. I tried to keep our family together, to protect Leah, and to hold on to Maya, until I realized some things can't be salvaged if someone isn't truly willing to make amends. I don't know if there's any pain worse than your child being hurt, except perhaps the pain of knowing your other child, whether knowingly or not, played a part in that suffering. It all unraveled on a Thursday afternoon. Leah walked into my room, her face pale, her eyes red and swollen. Trembling, she asked, "Mom, why does everyone know about me?" I froze. Leah explained that 5 classmates had texted her that day, offering condolences with words only someone who knew the full story could use. Leah had been trying so hard to hide it all, from her classmates' stares, the whispers, the social media chatter. She was forcing herself to go to school every day, pretending she was fine, even though she relied on medication to sleep a few hours each night. I immediately started digging and found out Maya, Leah's older sister, had shared the entire story in a group chat with 27 people, including students from their school. She didn't just mention it in passing. She explicitly named Leah as the victim, even though legal documents listed Leah as Jane Doe to protect her identity. I was furious. I confronted Maya, hoping for an apology, a decent explanation. Instead, I got a chilling indifference. "You're blowing this out of proportion, Mom," Maya said, slouching in her chair, scrolling through her phone. "Leah's not any different from other women who've been raped. At least they don't make it their whole personality like she does." I even heard her laughing with some guy yesterday. It felt like my world collapsed. I tried to stay calm, to explain how deeply Leah was hurting, how Maya's actions had made it worse. But Maya just smirked and said, "You always take Leah's side." In that moment, I realized something brutal. Maya didn't just lack remorse. She didn't see Leah as someone deserving of empathy. I was speechless. All I could do was take a deep breath and say, "Pack your things. You're staying with your grandparents from now on." No tears, no arguments. Maya stood up, packed her bags as if she were going on a weekend trip. I didn't recognize her anymore. The daughter I gave birth to, the one I held every night, had become a stranger. That evening, Leah knocked on my door and asked, "Is Maya gone because of me?" When I nodded, she lowered her head and, in a broken voice, said, "Is it my fault? Did I ruin our family, Mom?" My heart shattered. "No, you're not to blame," I thought. "The fault lies with the one who chose to betray her sister." But how could I say that when Leah was still clinging to the image of her big sister? I pulled Leah into my arms, the first time in weeks, and we cried together. The next morning, just a day after I sent Maya away, my phone buzzed. A text from Maya. "Mom, I have a therapy appointment this afternoon. I want you to come. I'm sorry." I stared at the message, torn. Part of me wanted to refuse, to cut ties to protect Leah, but another part, the mother in me, still hoped. Maybe Maya was truly sorry. Maybe the girl I raised was still in there, just lost. That afternoon, I went to the appointment with a heavy heart. Maya sat there with her therapist, a middle-aged woman with a gentle gaze. But from the first moment, something felt off. Maya started with an apology. She said she shared the story in the group chat because she needed to vent, felt overwhelmed, and thought everyone already knew anyway, even though Leah's identity was never public. She said Leah seemed fine, so she didn't think sharing would be a big deal. I listened silently, waiting for some sign of remorse, some understanding. But the more I heard, the angrier I grew, not just at Maya, but at the therapist. She kept steering the conversation toward me, questioning my role as a mother and whether I was neglecting Maya's feelings. She's been through trauma too, spending time in jail, losing her best friend, the therapist said, her voice dripping with sympathy. I almost laughed in disbelief. That best friend was the one who raped Leah, the cruelest of them all, according to Leah, who ended up in the hospital with bruises on her neck from being choked so hard she nearly stopped breathing. I'd heard those details from Leah herself, through her tears, and now I was being asked to empathize with Maya for losing that monster. I couldn't stay silent anymore. I looked at Maya and the therapist and let out what I'd been holding back. It's disgusting that you're sitting here talking about Maya's trauma when Leah needs medication just to sleep at night. Maya spent one weekend in jail. Leah was in the hospital with choke marks on her neck from Maya's best friend. And you're asking me why I can't share in her grief over losing him. The room went still. Maya started crying, but I saw no remorse in her tears, just hurt from being called out, not regret for what she'd done to her sister. The breaking point came when the therapist asked Maya, "Have you apologized to Leah yet?" Maya let out a huff, raised an eyebrow, and said, "Apologize for what? I didn't rape her." I went numb. Even the therapist looked stunned. I stood up, said nothing more, and walked out, closing the door behind me. That door shut on a piece of my heart. Time passed, and I stopped counting the days since I last saw Maya. I didn't respond to her texts, but I read them, not to torture myself, but to watch, quietly, for any sign of light, any hint of real change. Maya's messages grew less frequent. No more accusations, no more long, angry rants, just short notes, sometimes a single word. "Sorry, I didn't reply." Not because I didn't feel anything, but because I knew a word wasn't enough to mend a fracture born of betrayal and callousness. Trust, once broken, can't be patched with a few sentences. It takes time, it takes action, and sometimes it takes distance. Leah started to heal, not miraculously or suddenly, but bit by bit. She went to therapy regularly, started journaling again, and learned to reconnect with the world. I still saw sadness in her eyes, but it was no longer despair. One afternoon, as we sat quietly sipping tea, Leah asked, "If Maya really changes one day, would you forgive her?" I thought for a moment, then answered with all the honesty I had. I'd be willing to forgive when I see Maya mature enough to own her mistakes and make things right. But forgiveness doesn't mean things go back to how they were. Sometimes it just means finding peace to move forward. Leah nodded, silent. I knew she still loved her sister. Despite the deep hurt, the love in a little sister's heart never fully fades. But I also knew Leah had learned the hardest lesson of youth. Love can't exist without respect and safety. I don't know what the future holds. Maybe one day, Maya will wake up. Maybe she'll find a different therapist, understand her actions, and apologize to Leah, not because she's told to, but because she knows it's right. If that day comes, I'll be there. But I'm also prepared for the possibility that it never will. I no longer cling to the idea of a perfect family. I've learned that family isn't a flawless picture on the wall. It's people who learn to love each other the right way, who take responsibility for the pain they cause, and who know when to step back to avoid causing more. Motherhood isn't always about embracing, forgiving, or enduring. Sometimes it's about protecting one child from the other. I don't know if this is the end or just a turning point, but I know I did the right thing for Leah, for myself, and maybe someday for Maya too.